When Uranus completes its journey through the 8th house, where it dismantled psychological dependencies and overhauled your shared resources, it crosses into the 9th house. If the 8th house was a plunge into the dark depths of subconscious transformation, the 9th house is an emergence into light, broad horizons, higher knowledge, travel, and worldviews. Uranus spends approximately 7 years traversing this expansive landscape. Because the 9th house governs beliefs, higher education, philosophy, publishing, legal matters, and long-distance journeys, Uranus acts as an intellectual and spiritual liberator. It shatters rigid dogmas, revolutionizes how you view the universe, and compels you to embark on a quest for ultimate mental and philosophical freedom. The core dynamic: radical philosophical awakening. The 9th house is traditionally associated with established religion, formal academic systems, traditional belief systems, and inherited worldviews. Uranus is the cosmic iconoclast, innovator, and champion of personal truth. When these two energies intersect, any belief system you accepted simply because of family, culture, or tradition faces a radical overhaul. During this transit, adhering to dogmatic teachings or rigid political ideologies becomes nearly impossible. Uranus creates intellectual awakenings that expose the limitations of your old paradigms. You may experience sudden insights, epiphanies, or shifts in perspective that shatter long-held assumptions about life, morality, and reality. The ultimate purpose of this philosophical disruption is to liberate your mind. Uranus insists that your belief system must be an authentic expression of your lived experience rather than a set of borrowed rules. As a result, you naturally gravitate toward progressive philosophies, esoteric studies, astrology, quantum mechanics, modern spirituality, or radical humanitarian perspectives that honor individual autonomy. Unconventional learning, travel, and horizons. The 9th house also rules higher education, publishing, cross-cultural experiences, and long-distance travel. Under Uranus, your pursuit of knowledge and discovery departs from standard pathways. Reimagining higher education: if you pursue formal studies during this transit, you may be drawn to unconventional majors, cutting-edge fields, online learning, or alternative institutions. Conversely, you might suddenly leave a traditional academic track to pursue self-directed learning or practical mastery in innovative disciplines. Travel as a catalyst for disruption: journeys undertaken during this transit are rarely routine vacations. Travel becomes a transformative catalyst, marked by sudden opportunities, unexpected detours, or visits to unusual, off-the-beaten-path destinations. Crossing cultural boundaries serves to shock your mind out of complacency. Broadcasting and publishing innovations: if you write, teach, or publish, Uranus encourages you to use modern digital platforms, independent publishing channels, or progressive media to share your original voice with a global audience without gatekeepers. Overcoming ideological rigidity and intellectual alienation. The primary challenge of Uranus in the 9th house is the temptation to slip into ideological arrogance or intellectual alienation. Because Uranus brings rapid breakthroughs, the ego can become attached to its new, progressive views, looking down on those who hold traditional beliefs. Alternatively, adopting radical or ahead-of-their-time perspectives can temporarily make you feel isolated from your immediate community or family. The lesson of this transit is not to replace old dogmas with new, rebellious ones, but to keep your mind permanently open, adaptable, and tolerant of diverse viewpoints. The long-term yield: true intellectual sovereignty. By the time transiting Uranus completes its 7-year passage through your 9th house and prepares to cross the midheaven into the 10th house of career and public reputation, your mental landscape is vastly expanded. You emerge with a worldview that is uniquely yours, built on direct experience, open-minded inquiry, and radical truth. Having liberated your mind from cultural and religious conditioning, you gain an authentic philosophical compass ready to guide your purpose out into the public world. The initial phase of Uranus transiting the 9th house often feels like a sudden mental rupture, a moment where a book, a journey, a course, or a sudden epiphany renders your former worldview completely obsolete. Once the initial excitement of intellectual awakening settles, the remaining years of this multi-year transit demand a deeper, structural task, systematically dismantling cultural conditioning, modernizing your relationship to higher learning, and developing a sovereign philosophy that can weather any existential storm. Deconstructing religious, cultural, and academic dogma. The ninth house is the natural domain of Sagittarius and Jupiter, the psychic sphere of meaning-making, abstract thought, and overarching belief systems. When Uranus electrifies this expansive house, it acts as an intellectual circuit breaker, severing your attachment to inherited dogmas and societal programming. Shattering inherited ideologies, you begin to question every religious, moral, or political framework handed to you by parents, teachers, or cultural institutions. Under Uranus, accepting a belief out of tradition or social obligation feels intellectually dishonest and suffocating. Exposing academic and institutional gatekeeping. Traditional academic systems or spiritual hierarchies that demand blind adherence to authority quickly lose their luster. You seek direct, unmediated access to truth, preferring self-directed research, open-source knowledge, and empirical personal experience over institutional approval. Liberating the moral compass. Rather than adhering to external codes of conduct based on fear, guilt, or rigid dogma, Uranus helps you build an internal, authentic ethical framework rooted in universal human rights, personal liberty, and cosmic law. The modernization of teaching, publishing, and global outreach. Because Uranus governs technological innovation, network systems, and futuristic concepts, its passage through the ninth house radically transforms how you absorb, synthesize, and disseminate wisdom to the broader world. Digital and decentralized learning. You naturally gravitate toward non-traditional educational pathways, online incubators, modern mentorships, cross-disciplinary studies, and cutting-edge digital platforms. Learning becomes an agile, lifelong endeavor rather than a static degree. Revolutionary publishing and media. If you are a writer, teacher, speaker, or content creator, Uranus impels you to bypass traditional publishing gatekeepers. You leverage modern digital technology, podcasts, independent platforms, or global networks to broadcast your radical ideas directly to a worldwide audience. Cross-cultural synergies. Your interactions with foreign cultures, esoteric traditions, or alternative philosophies cease to be mere hobbies. They become essential tools for expanding your consciousness. You synthesize seemingly disparate traditions into a cohesive, futuristic synthesis. Somatic integration and nervous system expansion. The ninth house rules the hips, thighs, sciatic nerve, and the expansive nervous system pathways that support higher-order abstract thinking and visionary vision. When Uranus sends high-frequency energy through this sector, over-intellectualization can cause physical restlessness or a sense of ungrounded existential vertigo. To maintain somatic stability while your mind expands into new dimensions. Grounding abstract thought. Counterbalance high-level conceptual processing with physical movement that grounds the lower limbs, such as hiking, running, or intentional somatic grounding exercises, to keep your energy rooted in the earth. Integrating mind expansion. Pacing your intellectual consumption prevents nervous system burnout. Taking deliberate breaks from intense study or digital information streams allows your subconscious to digest and integrate expansive revelations. Embodied travel. When traveling long distances, focus on somatic immersion in local environments rather than fast-paced, exhausting itineraries, allowing your physical vessel to acclimatize to new energetic signatures. The long-term yield, sovereign consciousness and philosophical courage. By the time transiting Uranus completes its 7-year passage through your ninth house and prepares to cross the midheaven into the 10th house of career, public standing, and life purpose, your relationship to truth is permanently transformed. You no longer look to gurus, academic titles, or established dogmas to validate your understanding of the cosmos. You have forged a resilient, self-liberated mind capable of navigating ambiguity, embracing paradox, and thinking for yourself. You step forward to the peak of your natal chart equipped with an authentic, unshakable philosophy that empowers you to lead, create, and serve with radical integrity in the public eye. Subscribe, like, and share.